talked about the BVIs before in a very general sense, but following up and talking about the BVI less as a asset protection locale and more of a hedge fund domicile locale. And they have an interesting structure which I think for crypto funds works really well, given the flexibility and given the relative lack of regulatory hurdles that you have to jump through to get a fund launch, which you find in jurisdictions like the Cayman Islands. Plus the cost is spectacular compared to the Caymans when it comes to cost of incorporation, cost of banking, right? Minimum deposits much lower, and you'll find that the attorneys, custodians, fund management people are all much less expensive in the Cayman Islands, or I'm sorry, in the BVIs. So you got three fund structures, right? The entry fund, right, which I think is a good segue if you're sort of getting your toes wet into the crypto fund world, is the Incubator Fund, right? And the Incubator Fund can be registered in a number of days, right? And it's more of a registration as opposed to an application, right? So you can register, receive it in a couple days. Some limitations: 20 investors, minimum investment of 20,000, max assets under management of 20 million. You do not have to have an auditor, you do not have to have a custodian, and you do not have to have a fund admin company. It does have a life cycle of only 2 years. So if you're looking for like a track record, right, especially if you're a trader, right, and you're looking for that track record, maybe you've got some investors, maybe you're doing a friends and family, maybe you think you can just keep it small and run a good track record, start with the Incubator Fund. It's cost effective, it's quick, get off the ground. You'll find that the majority of hedge fund investors wouldn't find 20,000 as the minimum to be entirely objectionable, right? You can take in-kind payments, so if it's if you're taking payments in crypto, Ethereum, whatever, you can take that. But there's space to grow because you have to do something, right? Because the Incubator Fund has a lifespan of 2 years, and so you basically at the end of the 2 years, or right off the bat, if you're if you're in that space and you're ready to go, I guess to a larger extent, you have two options. Next is the approved fund, right? The approved fund, max 20 investors, no minimum investment, right? No minimum investment, total max investment of 100 million, and no term. Okay, no term. So a little more complicated, right? The process to become an approved fund, as the name would suggest, is in fact more involved, more costly, a little more timely. But you can raise more, and illogically perhaps, there's no minimum investment, right? There's no minimum investment. So approved fund, it's sort of, I don't advise a ton of people to go to the approved fund route. I advise everybody to sort of start with the incubator and then move to the professional fund, right? Professional fund is sort of your main fund category under BVI law. $100,000 minimum investment, which is pretty common for most hedge funds. No maximum investment. It does require an auditor, does require a custodian, does require a licensed investment manager, does require a fund admin company, right? So really your professional fund is the route where you want to end up, okay? But for the cost and the speed and the parameters that involve, that are involved with being a professional fund, start with the Incubator Fund. Start with the Incubator Fund because you're going to build a track record. And you don't have to wait the 2-year cycle of the Incubator Fund to transition out of the Incubator Fund. You can transition at any time to a professional fund, right? But, for purposes of, how this investment strategies work and how you attract investors in what's really a crowded space, right? It's become a very, very, very crowded space. And most people jump in with no track records. And I think that's insane, right? I think you have to start small, even if you do it domestically. I think, my advice would be start a fund that only has 5, 10, 20 million. I think that's like very reasonable. Rational fund managers do that, even in the real world, right? In the real world, the securities world, the commodities world, you'll see people start these funds to build a track record, and then when they transition into a larger fund, right, when they unwind one fund, want to grow to another fund, or in this case, when they're going to the incubator fund, they want to transition to the professional fund, you have something to go on. You have something to market. You have some sort of track record other than a YouTube page, right? And that's where this industry has to go. And the BVI is a great locale for traditional hedge funds. It's not as big as the Caymans, but I think you'll find, especially with the incubator fund structure, for startup hedge funds, it's an ideal location, especially in the crypto space, because again, you have a lot of legal uncertainty, especially in the US, and you've got a lot of investment coming from Asia, and you're going to find that most high net worth Asian investors don't necessarily want exposure to US tax laws. Fair enough, but you don't have that obviously in the BVIs. So again, incubator approved and professional fund, right? I'm a big proponent of the incubator fund. If you have any questions on any level, feel free to hit me up. Tracy Firm, TRACY firm.com, at@tracyfirm.com is my email. Feel free to hit me up with any questions you have, and I'll talk to you later.